Hey everyone, Simon Horrocks here from Mobile Motion, and in this video I'm just going to quickly go through all the features in the new Zhiyun StaCam app. So when the Smooth 5 was first released, it was only supported by the ZY Cami app. And the thing is that one of the unique features of this gimbal is this focus and zoom wheel, which you can use to control focus and zoom. You just press the button in the middle to switch between the two, and it's a pretty cool feature actually. But the snag was that to use this for focus you had to have the ZY Cami app in manual mode, and on Android devices there is no manual mode in the ZY Cami app. So that meant that Android devices did not have this focus control using the wheel. And then all our hopes pretty much rested on Filmmaker Pro coming through and adding support for this gimbal as they did for the previous version, which is the Smooth 4. But we're still kind of waiting for that, and in the meantime along came another app from Zhiyun called StaCam. So this StaCam app, you can download it for iOS and for Android, and it's a little bit like Filmmaker Pro actually. You can get complete manual control in things like ISO, shutter speed, white balance, focus, all the basic stuff. So let's have a look, and I'm just going to run through all the basic features and show you how it works.
First off, balance your phone on the gimbal and power on. Make sure the Bluetooth is switched on and open the StaCam app. You might find it connects automatically. So if the phone and the gimbal are not paired, the Bluetooth icon in the top left corner will be kind of pulsing. And once it's connected, you'll just get a blue icon, no pulsing. So if it isn't connected, you can tap the blue button and try to connect or reconnect that way. Now, the Smooth 5 can control various settings in the app using the controls on the handle. Like every other gimbal, there's the record button. Press to record, press again to stop. Not really a big surprise. Aside from that, there are two wheels which allow you to change settings in the app. The zoom and focus wheel on the side and the adjustment wheel on the front. There's also three other buttons which control the app: the menu button, the light bulb button in the center of the wheel, and the FN button on the side. The side wheel is actually quite nice to use, but the adjustment wheel on the front can be a little bit fiddly. It takes a bit of practice to kind of get used to it, but you might find it easier just to tap and swipe on the screen. There's actually four buttons if you press down on the wheel: left, right, up, and down. So tap up on the wheel to get resolution, filming mode, and frame rate settings. And then you just use the wheel to move around the settings, and then tap the center button to select that setting. And if you want to close the screen, press the menu button. So quite often the menu button acts as like a back button. Or you can just tap on the middle of the screen. To access these settings without using the wheel, just tap where it displays resolution and frame rate, next to white balance and exposure settings. Now tap right on the wheel to get exposure setting controls, and keep tapping right to cycle through shutter speed, ISO, and white balance. Choose a setting you want to adjust, and now tap the center light bulb button, and this switches exposure from auto to manual mode. And you can see that the auto to manual toggle switch is switched to M for manual. Just tap the center button again to switch it back to auto. So of course you can use the wheel to adjust the setting. As with all these StaCam settings, you can simply use the screen if you find that easier. With white balance, again, there's a toggle switch between auto and manual. Most of the time it's enough to just switch to manual, and that will lock white balance. And you'll probably notice that the white balance changes slightly when you do that. And that's because the manual white balance adjusts in only 100 increments, so 100 at a time. So when you switch to manual, it kind of rounds it off. So the thing about having a locked white balance is that it won't adjust during the shot, which usually doesn't look that good. If you really want to be accurate with it, you will need to adjust the white balance in your editing software later. And pressing the menu button closes the exposure and white balance settings. Or again, you can just tap the middle of the screen. Press down on the adjustment wheel to open the gallery, and then spin the wheel to scroll through videos that you've captured with StaCam. Press the light bulb button to select a video, and then if you press that light bulb button again, you can play or pause the video. In the top right, an information button allows you to see the technical information of the clip. Now, if you're using an iPhone and you tap this download button, that clip will be exported to your iPhone Photos app. And if you keep clicking it, it just keeps exporting another copy. So careful that you don't just keep tapping away, and you'll find your Photos app is full of the same clip. Now, if you tap the heart icon on a video, that video will then appear under the like heading. So this makes it easier to find the best takes later on, if you have a lot of takes. If you tap select on the screen, you can select a batch of videos and then like or trash those videos as a group. It's actually a little bit eccentric, because if I select one video here by tapping on the screen, I can now use the wheel to scroll through the videos and use the light bulb to select the videos. But it seems that you have to do the first one by tapping the screen. Anyway, one of those weird things about this app. And so to access the gallery without the wheel, tap the photo icon top left. To close the gallery, tap again on the wheel or tap the arrow in the top left. Now, if you tap left on the wheel, it removes the interface. So you get a clean screen. And you'll see the icon in the bottom right turn yellow. Okay, so to switch between different lenses on your smartphone, tap the lens picker in the top left corner. Now on the iPhone, there's an auto option, and I'm not exactly sure what that does. To select a camera, you can just tap on that camera on the screen, but you can also use the wheel and button to navigate and then select the camera. So again, to close this, just tap the center of the screen or use the menu button. Bottom center, you will find the histograms, which basically help you get good exposure. So tap on the screen to cycle through the different histogram options. And by the way, if you do want to learn a bit more about histograms, you might want to check out my ebook, which is available to members on Patreon. Next to the histograms are the audio level meters. Pretty self-explanatory. By default, when you turn the wheel at the side, it will zoom in and out, and then press the button in the middle of the wheel to switch to focus control. Now when you turn the wheel, you adjust the focus instead. And this can be really useful for doing focus pulls or simply getting accurate focus, because, it's a bit easier to use the wheel than swiping a control on the screen. Now here's a little problem, the typical Android problem. When I tried using this wheel on an Android device, I found that the zoom is actually fine, but that the focus is not too smooth. It makes these abrupt movements. It's smooth and then it makes a little sudden movement. So if you wanted to do a focus pull, it's not very useful. It's going to be fine for setting focus though. But hopefully that's something they can sort out in the future. When you switch to focus and start using the wheel to control focus, or even if you swipe on the screen, focus switches to manual mode. So at first I couldn't find a way to switch back to autofocus. But this is actually how you do it. You just tap the middle of the screen until you get the exposure reticle. And once you get that exposure reticle, focus will return to auto mode until you adjust it manually again, of course.
Okay, so that's kind of the basic features covered, but there's also some interesting features at the bottom right of the screen. So let's just take a look at those.
The first two give you a lot of options for different guides. The LUT button opens up a menu of different preset filters. Well, bear in mind that many of these features are only available in the paid version, but I'm just going to quickly show you a few options so you can see if it's worth paying for. The first button in this row opens up various guides which assist framing shots. You have to open this option by tapping the screen, but once open, you can choose to use the wheel and button on the front of the gimbal. Top is a set of overlay guides dealing with aspect ratio. They won't actually do anything to the video you record, so they're just for reference. For example, if you want to shoot video that will eventually be cropped to a widescreen ratio of 2.39 to 1, so this guide is going to help you when you're framing your shots so that you can avoid some nasty shocks later when you're editing. In guides, you have two options for grid overlays, plus a switch for adding diagonal lines. Again, this helps when framing. For example, if you wanted to use the golden ratio. And this is actually something I've talked about in previous videos. And as well, you can learn all about the golden ratio in my ebook for members on Patreon. The final guide here is pretty useful. Enable this and you will get a level indicator. And when this line is yellow, it means your smartphone is level with the horizon. When it's white, then it's not level. So if I roll the camera, you can see that the line indicates the level of the horizon. So these safe frame overlays are useful if you want to make sure no important part of the image finds itself cropped out of the image later. It is a bit like the frame ratio guides, but this time it crops in a preset percentage from all sides. So again, it does nothing to the actual video file. This is just a guide to assist you, just to save you trouble later on when you come to edit. So tap the next button along to open a menu called Footage. I don't really know why it's called Footage, because, this isn't really footage, is it? These are actually various live metering guide options. So I would suggest that they call this live metering or something like that. And you can actually also open this menu by pressing the button on the side below the power button, and it's marked FN, which I believe stands for function. I think that button is supposed to be an assignable button that you can use for various functions, but at the moment all it does is open the footage menu, as I say, which actually has no footage in it at all and has live metering instead. So tap on the screen or use the wheel and button to select and deselect various live meters. Focus peaking overlays a green line around the in-focus areas of the frame. Zebra pattern overlays blue for underexposed and red for overexposed areas. False color is an overlay which shows different exposure levels as different colors. Highlight clipping is an overlay which is like the zebra, but this time it indicates where information is actually lost, and this is known as clipping. And when you lose information from your image through over or underexposing, it's known as clipping. Monochrome display switches between red, green, blue, and grayscale. Again, this does nothing to the video, so if you choose blue, you're not going to get a blue video, for example. Advanced settings just allows you to customize all those live metering options to suit your preference. Now, if you tap the cog top right, this opens up a bunch of other settings. You can toggle between portrait and landscape. You can switch on a tone, which sounds when you stop and start recording. Also, importantly, they are different tones. So that helps you avoid that mistake where you think you've started recording, but actually you stopped recording and then you end up recording all the bits in between the bits that you actually wanted to record. And we've all done that. Use LUT means the LUT you apply from StaCam's preset filters will be added to the final video. Otherwise, it will only be used as a preview guide. So again, I don't really know why you would only use it for preview unless you had exactly the same LUT to apply in your editing software. But perhaps you can also access these same LUTs in a Zhiyun editing application somewhere. I don't know. Anybody knows that? Let me know. And this anti-shake setting basically just applies inbuilt stabilization in the phone, which I'm guessing is going to be digital stabilization. Bitrate allows you to adjust the quality of the video. So as you probably know, higher bitrate files are higher quality, but they are also bigger, so take up more space on your drive. The maximum is actually 16 megabits per second, which does seem rather low. Coding allows you to switch between the H.264 or H.265 codecs. The 265 is more modern, but sometimes not compatible with certain platforms. But that said, I do always shoot in 265. And actually, I think we would expect the bitrate to change when we change the codec here, but it doesn't. When that makes me a little bit suspicious of this bitrate number.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, because I know that technical stuff can be a little bit confusing sometimes, and I've been smartphone filmmaking for quite a few years, and I've learned quite a bit of stuff about it, and I've put all this stuff into an ebook which is available to download for free for my members on Patreon. Yeah, if you're interested in learning a bit more about this technical stuff.
So filming countdown just allows you to set a timer which counts down before the video starts recording. Tap the LUT button to access a bunch of preset filters, including a log setting. You can also adjust the strength of each filter here. And these filters are going to need downloading before you can apply them to your video. And again, I'm afraid some of these are not available in the free version. And so that's pretty much it for this app. Oh yeah, just one last thing. If you tap the flashlight symbol at the top, it switches on your flashlight for extra lighting. I guess be careful not to tap that by accident, because you might not notice, and then that's going to drain your phone's battery.
Yeah, so that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And a big thanks to all the people who are supporting this channel on Patreon. Thanks guys, and see you in the next video.